Hey everybody, welcome to this Friday, August 21st. I'm Nick Kypreos. Welcome to the Real Kyper at noon. Just seems like we're quieting down a little bit on the scheduling. Doesn't mean the storylines are quieting down anytime soon, but just 2 games last night, 2 games tonight. And depending on the outcome, we may not have any games on the weekend, although there is some talk that if the Montreal Canadiens and the St. Louis Blues do not extend, we could start the second round as early as Sunday. But the storylines really are now off the ice. And when we look at what the first 73 games of this NHL bubble 24-team tournament, as far as the NHL safety department led by George Parros, been pretty quiet. Not much at all in terms of suspensions. Yeah, we saw a couple of fines. Matheson fined. Kunin fined with his incident with Furland. We saw Max Pacioretty get fined for a slash at the end of his series against Chicago. And then Brindamore, he got whacked pretty good at $25,000 for his comments. But other than that, not much at all. Drake Caggiula, 1 game suspension on a hit on Tyler Ennis. And if you go back and watch that game, you had to see the replay. You didn't even notice it. It was one of those, oh, there it is. Yeah, okay, 1 game. And then the 74th game, all bets are off. Gallagher, Niskanen. And I even went into the chat before the show started. I said, tell us how you really feel. Like 1 game suspension. And I've been one of those guys where I need a lot of convincing for heavy suspensions. Nobody ever wants to see a big suspension. Nobody ever wants to see players out of the game. But when it's warranted, it's warranted. And I look at this, and yes, you can listen to the explanation of the National Hockey League and George Parros and his department. And there is some merit to the discussion of the cross-check looking like it wasn't intentional, that it was almost accidental, that it wasn't a high cross-check, whether or not Gallagher came into it, whether or not Niskanen was searching for it. I can buy a little bit of that. But this is where I can't buy into, is that a man has his jaw broken. And not just any man. We're talking about the best player on the ice for the Montreal Canadiens. And the biggest reason why they get to a game 6 in Brendan Gallagher. He broke his jaw, okay? That alone tells you that a 1 game suspension for Niskanen, that it doesn't fit, okay? The punishment doesn't fit the crime here. And I don't even think that they needed to say it was a 3 or 4 game suspension, but at the very least, do not let Niskanen play the rest of this series. Just say he's done for the series. It could be 1 game, it could be 2 game. But Niskanen cannot see the light of day the rest of this series against Montreal. It just does not seem right, whether or not you thought it was accidental or the term reckless. Reckless is a good one. Reckless doesn't say exactly whether you think he meant to do it on purpose or not. I buy it. It was reckless. But Gallagher can't play. That means Niskanen should not be able to play the rest of this series. And he's a good player. Niskanen's a good player. He logs a lot of minutes. He has an effect on that blue line in Philadelphia. Him having the ability to come back in a game 7, if Montreal is lucky enough to extend this, is not right. But what do I know? What do I know, Mac? Doug Maclean. Let's ask the expert, the guy who's 100% right all of the time on the Real Kyper at noon show. Let's ask Doug Maclean.
Well, I've been right a lot. I guess I have to admit that. But, I think, you know what, I think the term reckless is fair. And what would this be in the regular season? What suspension would Niskanen have gotten in the regular season? They always have the multiples for the regular season versus the playoffs. I didn't like it a little bit. I'm 100% in agreement. Reckless. And when I heard one game, I couldn't believe my ears. I'm sorry. I could not believe my ears that it was a one-game suspension. I mean, it was a blatant, I guess, reckless, but I thought he searched him. I thought he went after him. I thought he cross-checked him. Is it too low? I'm blown away by this. And I'm with you. I mean, I just do not believe he should be back. And look, this should be a monumental loss for the Flyers. This is arguably their number 2 defenseman, he and Provorov, in that top pair. This is a big loss. And Gallagher's out with a broken jaw. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to even hear the explanation because I'm going to disagree with it.
This is me as a player now speaking to you through my experiences. The first thing I think about is I've played this game long enough, Mac, where I can go dress up a cross check like that, much like Niskanen. I can do that. I played the game long enough. I've been in scenarios in front of the net, in corners. I can dress it up that way. If somebody told me that I could go out there and I can do that to Claude Giroux or Voracek or Couturier, I'll take the one game.
Yeah.
I'll take the one game for my team. No, all day long. All day long. That's what they're telling me. If you can create that scenario and get a shot in on a guy like Gallagher, then that's a good trade-off. That's a pretty good trade-off. One game.
But what's unusual about it, it's 2 top players. It's Montreal's arguably their best forward. He hasn't scored until the other night, but he's an important guy. And Niskanen's a real important guy in the Flyers. So typically, is it star versus star that this happens to? No, it's not. And does that have any bearing on it? Is that why Niskanen got a bit of a break here? Because he's a star with the Flyers? What if it was Philip Myers? Or what if it was a 4th-line guy for the Flyers? What does he get in
2,
that scenario?
3?
You're right. That's my point. So
still not a bad trade. Still not a bad trade.
It's a great trade. It's a great trade if you can lose the best player. And he's out, he's done. And Niskanen comes back for game 7, if in fact there is a game 7. I didn't like it. Sorry.
Can Kirk Muller and Carey Price pull a rabbit out of their hat? You don't want to, based on everything you've seen so far, there wouldn't be any reason to completely write them off here.
Well, you can't write them off because of Price, number 1. And number 2, Hart has been terrific. I mean, back-to-back shutouts. He stumbled the other night. He didn't look himself the other night. What kind of pressure is on a youngster, a 22-year-old kid? How does he perform tonight? You know, we've seen some veteran guys really fumble, veteran goaltenders fumble at critical times. We saw it with Allen the other night where he wasn't as good. We saw it obviously with Talbot last night where he wasn't. How is Hart going to be when it comes into this? And what's bothering me, I haven't liked the way the Flyers have played. That's why Montreal's still in this. Look at the group of Giroux, Konechny, Hayes, Couturier. How many goals have they scored in this series? Like, it's hard to find if any of them have gotten even a goal. So their big guys have not scored for them. Voracek has, I guess, has Couturier got 1? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't liked the Flyers, so I can't write Montreal off. Gallagher hurts. He hasn't scored, but he's a leader for them.
I guess the saving grace out of all of this, too, was the 2 power play goals that they got off the Kotkaniemi ejection for his 5-minute boarding call. I would suspect that would give some life to some of those stars.
I mean, did you like that call? I thought it was borderline, to be quite honest.
It was borderline. my focus isn't necessarily on how vulnerable Sanheim was, other than the fact that Kotkaniemi went in there hard and he elevated a little bit. And if
Yeah, he
you
did.
take a good look at his feet,
Yeah.
they don't like the hits that drive up.
No,
Mac.
they hate them. They hate
them. But how about this kid though? It's how much piss and vinegar has this guy had? I think the best thing the Canadiens did with him was send him to the minors, because he came back a way different guy. He's not even close to being the guy that we saw during the regular season.
Listen, if it's not for he and Suzuki, I mean, I know Petrie and Weber and Price have been real good, but who has led them up front? I mean, Danault is a great checking centerman, but what about the way Suzuki and he have both performed? I mean, they have changed the look of the Habs. It's something to be excited about the Habs. I mean, I remember thinking about the Habs a couple of weeks ago, thinking, really, is there anybody in that group of forwards that excites you, that can really, get you fired up, that you have a chance to win a series? And now, as we're heading into Game 6, Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are the two guys that get me excited about this group of forwards. And after that, you're searching for guys that really get you pumped up about their game.
Hey, we know Kirk Muller, and we know he's had head coaching experience in Carolina, and he settled in nicely a little bit with the Montreal Canadiens again. But do you think his short work in the last little while since Claude Julien's been gone could open up a few eyes? Because a lot of people questioned him and taking Gallagher his ice time away. And it's easy, Mac, and you've done this before. When you got certain guys out there that don't bring it every night, and Duran's probably a great example. Duran's an easier bench than Gallagher. But has Kirk Muller maybe opened up a few people's eyes in terms of head coaching, being that type of guy yet again in his career?
To me, that is not an easy call. There's very, very few coaches in the NHL that go where he went in a critical playoff game. Very few go there. Very few guys. Most will let your stars play out of it, play through it, get over it. But very few put them on the bench. And I mean, for me, the way it turned out, I thought, okay, Kirk, this is a little iffy here. I'm not sold on this move. I really wasn't sold on the move. But then you see how Gallagher comes back and how he's the guy that ignites the team.
Yeah.
And he's the guy. Then you got to give Kirk Muller full marks. You got to give him full marks for this. And here's the difference. He's not a head coach. Head coaches, I said, have a hard time doing this. How many assistants would come in and do this? Very few. That's where he gets the marks for me.
It's huge, and
it's a gutsy move.
I will say this, from a guy just trying to read the tea leaves here. Kirk doesn't do that unless he knows the type of guy Gallagher is. And I think you said it earlier that you know the character, the fight in this guy.
Yeah.
Kirk knew exactly what he was going to get the next night out of Gallagher. But when you start picking certain guys, stars, if you don't have the faith in them to have the character to come back and say, I'm going to shove it up your ass, I'm going to shove it up your ass, and I'm going to shove it up your ass too. That's Gallagher. Okay. Some other guys will kind of roll over and you may not get them back till next January. But Kirk knew the character that Gallagher had, and I don't think he ever questioned whether or not this guy was going to show up in Game 5.
Exactly, and not only that, but this is an opportunity. When this thing happens, this can piss your general manager off. This can upset your owner. This can do lots of things, especially if it doesn't work out. So, look, Kirk took a gamble here. Kirk feels good enough, and I agree 100%. He knew what Gallagher would do. Drouin or a few other guys, I'm not sure you know what you're getting into when you make that same decision. So good on Kirk. Worked out well. And now The unfortunate part is they lose Gallagher, which is not good. Not good for them.
Montreal,
they're too thin to begin with up front.
Montreal and Philadelphia get everything going here at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're starting to see some puck drop times, Mac, that could get you to bed a little earlier now. I think that's a good thing for you, right?
This is getting to be a joke. I mean, I fell asleep last night at 3-0, and I woke up at 7-3.
Okay, so while Kirk Muller comes up roses for his tough decision, there's two coaches last night that probably could have used a benching or two on some of their top guys, and Todd Reardon with the Washington Capitals and Jeff Ward in Calgary. But I watched, and we've had this discussion, and it's so funny now to hear the narrative out of Calgary now. And we had this discussion in the middle of the week, Mac, before we even knew what a game like this could look like for Calgary in Game 6. But Johnny Gaudreau. Now, that would have been a ballsy move for Ward to sit this guy down at some point and say, yeah, not good enough, pal.
Well, you know what? We talked at length about the fact that 5-on-5, their big line has done nothing. And, all kinds of excuses for them. You went a little bit further than saying that the line wasn't doing anything. You said that it's time to move Johnny Gaudreau. I chuckled last night in the post-game analysis when it's now in vogue to say maybe Gaudreau should be moved. Well, it's become that critical.
What do we give people that watch the Real Kyper at noon show? What do we give them? Stuff that they're going to get first. You're going to hear the conversations before mainstream gets them. Read the tea leaves. It was there.
I give them the goods, and you sometimes get lucky.
Yes. 20 years of luck.
But anyway, you know what? It's big decisions, but not only big decisions with Johnny Gaudreau as to what they do with their core of forwards. There's some big decisions, and we talked about this as well the other day. There's some big decisions that have to happen with this blue line. When your number one guy is Giordano at his age, what happens?
Let's talk from the net out, with the Calgary Flames first. You've coached a lot of games. You've been behind the bench a lot. It can't be really easy to tell your starting goalie, he's no good tonight, get the hell out of the net, and then have to go back and beg him to be good one more time in the same game.
Especially,
how bad is that for a coach when you got to put a guy in that wasn't good enough the first time?
But what he said after Jeff, and I don't know Jeff Ward very well, but he said that his plan was to take Talbot out for a minute or two and get him back in. I didn't sense that was really what was happening here. But how can you, at 3-3, put in a guy who hasn't played since March, 8th?
Mac,
and who didn't have a good training camp?
Not only that.
And the guy's Talbot's... Anyway, I didn't like the decision at all.
It's not only that, but you got Riddick, who had a great start to the season, and then for whatever reason, I think after that All-Star break, started declining. And Talbot went to work, and he took it over. He took Riddick's job. That should have been Riddick's start right from the get-go, but they saw things in Riddick they did not like since the All-Star break.
Not only that.
Now to go put the guy in when the game's still on the line. And he was horrible.
Now, Talbot wasn't good either. There was a tip in one, but he didn't look great either for me, as good as he certainly has looked all along. But when you don't go to Riddick when you've got a back-to-back situation after Talbot had played a ton of hockey, that told me Riddick was done in this series. Riddick was not coming in this series after he didn't go there in the back-to-back situation when Talbot had played a ton of minutes and a ton of games. That means he was done. And then at 3-3, and it was over. It was over too quick. But it's a tough decision. I feel for Jeff because Jeff Ward really changed the look of this group. They were an ugly group when Peters was there. This was not going.
Okay.
Even Peters run into his problem. Ward did a good job.
He did, Mac, but that ending,
it's not good.
Humiliating, kind of humiliating. And you would have thought right now, going into last night, that an extension for Ward, that's his team, was looking pretty good. Does the way Calgary, the way they went down, does that make you think a little bit twice about the next permanent head coach of the Calgary Flames?
I got to tell you, first of all,
does it mess with it? Does it mess? Does it mess with it?
Talbot goes off the ice and he's wild when he gets pulled. He goes down the hallway. I don't know, some BS about equipment. He was really upset. Okay, here's the other thing that's got to happen here. Tree Living. Brad Tree Living. How many coaches has he gone through? I mean, this is what, number 4?
Almost as many as he's gone through goaltenders.
I mean, this is number 4, is it not? When we started with Hartley, and we've gone from Hartley to, Peters to, our friend that's the assistant coach in Edmonton. I mean, how many coaches how many tries does he get at this position? So, Tree Living has got to say, whoa, how many shots am I going to get at bringing in a coach?
Yeah.
So I don't know where he goes because
that's a good point. He may have to hang his hat on Jeff Ward, even though
he may.
Mac, they looked like rock stars in the first 7 minutes of this game. I mean, they're up 3-0 and they're just hitting Dallas with uppercuts and jabs and left hooks. And
then one goal. Heiskanen makes a play. Seriously, what about, anyway, we'll talk about him later. But here's the problem. The only thing Tree Living and Ward can hang their hat on with this defeat is Tkachuk. You've talked to Nick, the only way they can move forward is they build this team around Tkachuk. He is now not Monahan, not Goodrow, not Giordano. It is Tkachuk. He is the cornerstone of this franchise, and they didn't have him.
Did you see his reaction up in the suites?
What does that tell you?
Where he's like,
are you kidding me?
He's just throwing everything up. He's like, oh,
this is
but you love that honesty. You love that. He's not shy to tell you how he feels.
But
right?
The difference, the difference in this series was the blue line of Dallas and the blue line of Calgary.
It's not even close.
The biggest difference.
I felt bad.
Other than that was Tkachuk.
I felt bad for Giordano because
I do too.
I feel bad for him because he
deserves better.
You never really know when you start losing it, and he's in his mid-30s, but he doesn't have what it takes to go toe to toe with a young kid that you just mentioned. Who am I thinking of, Mac?
Heiskanen.
12 points. Heiskanen.
12
drawing
points.
a blank on Miro. He can't go toe-to-toe with him. He can't go with Klingberg.
Right.
And they have nobody. He tried early in the game. He went up and down the ice, but he can't even get up and down the ice like he did before. I know it was only a little over a year where he had his career year. He won a Norris. I get all that, but that's not him. He can't be a number one now and go against those young kids.
He's got to move into a secondary. He's got to become a number. Look, this guy. If you had this guy as number 3, if you had this guy as number 3 with his character and his leadership, man, you would be in great shape. But we've seen it in every series. The big studs on the back end, and I'm telling you, Nick, I've looked at Quinn. I've looked at McCarr.
Yeah.
I've watched this guy. I mean, I love Quinn. He's a franchise player right now. He's a franchise player. This guy is a franchise player. And then I say, after the defense, I think, what has Pavelski done for this Dallas team? Is he the glue?
Yes.
I
He
mean,
is.
you go into a deciding game last night. Ben, Sagan, and Radulov don't have a point. And this guy is a go-to guy. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's done. Anyway, the defense starts in the back end, guys. And Hudobin, I mean, where the hell did he come from? Who predicted that?
Nick Kypreos here with Doug Maclean. You're watching the Real Kyper at Noon show. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Tell your friends and hit the like button for Mac. Smash it.
Oh my God. I tried to explain to a buddy of mine in California today how to go to YouTube and subscribe. And this is the guy that can afford it. And he said, well, do I have to subscribe? I said, it's free. It's free. Just hit the subscribe button and like. And if you want to shut it off after that, shut it off.
It would be his first subscription since Life magazine. How old is he? Like 90?
No, since Reader's Digest.
Oh, Reader's Digest. Speaking of Hudobin, pretty easy decision for Rick Bowness to pull him after 3 goals. But he didn't.
He didn't.
And he looks pretty good.
He looks damn good. Yeah. So, you know what? It's, I guess you say, too, is what option do I have on the bench if I'm pulling Hudobin?
Yeah, no option.
That's right. So it's always a little easier then. I remember when if I ever pulled Beezer, when I coached Beezer, if I wouldn't start Beezer, like I'd try to get Fitzpatrick and Beezer wouldn't speak to me. I'd get on the bus and he'd just drop his head, wouldn't even look at me. He was so mad when I wouldn't play him. These guys want to play. The big boys want to play, especially in these big games. So anyway,
I look at
good on Dallas. Look, Dallas go against Colorado. They're 4-0 against Colorado in the regular season. I think that's out the window.
Do you think San Jose fans are watching Pavelski with Dallas like Leaf fans are watching Kadri with Colorado going, we had him. Like
Kadri may win the Conn Smythe.
Oh, don't say that. Leaf fans do not want to hear that.
Oh my God. I mean, has Kadri been good, but he's gone into such an unbelievable situation with it where he's not the guy. I mean, we'll talk about him when they start to play again, but what a story Kadri's been.
One last thought.
By the way, I tuned in yesterday to listen to you talk Kadri, and all I heard you listen to was talking goaltending and other stuff.
Well, I had Darren Pang. We had Darren Pang. We had the expert on.
He's got to be more multifaceted that he can talk other things besides goaltending.
Okay, so let's go into your wheelhouse here. Just to finish off Calgary, because I'm going to advance the story before anyone else goes there. How hard is it for Tree Living to move Johnny Gaudreau now? Because I look at Johnny hockey, and I still think that there's a great place on many teams for him. He just can't be my core nucleus guy. He's not going to lead me any more than Phil Kessel was going to lead the Toronto Maple Leafs. But Phil, in Pittsburgh, you can win Stanley Cups. So what kind of deal, President and General Manager Doug Maclean, tell me is out there for a Johnny Hockey and Tree Living?
He's a $6 million player. That's with term. So that's not the best scenario. I mean, second is, in my opinion, he is not a guy you build a franchise around. He's a support guy. That makes it even tougher. I think that you're going to have to give up some assets to get a reasonable asset in return. I mean, you can move him. Are you going to get a number 2 defenseman for him? I don't think so. Are you going to get a number 2 centerman for him? Maybe a second guy. That's not an easy deal to make. They thought this guy was going to be their franchise player. It's a tough deal to make. It really is. Nylander in Toronto at $7.5 million. Gaudreau at $6.5 million. Which way are you going there? You're not flipping headaches there. No, but I mean, I'm not saying one for one, but I'm saying both of them are assets that could be moved or could be tried to be moved. And when you've got a cap scenario like you have right now, There's going to be some big names on the market. I don't think these are going to be easy deals to make. I really don't.
Unlike Calgary and Washington, we don't expect the St. Louis Blues to go away quietly.
I don't expect the Blues. The goaltending is a big question mark for me. Binnington has not been good since they've come into the bubble. He has not been good. Allen,
he has not been great. He has not been great. He hasn't been horrible, Mac.
No, but he's not been Stanley Cup caliber. So Markstrom right now is making big saves at key times, and he's really been the go-to guy. It's not even close. The goaltending is not close right now.
Markstrom's been lights out.
Lights out. So
I can't believe, Mac, how quick his legs are for a guy that big. It's like watching ZZ Top legs, and you know how to use them.
I know. It really is. It's going to be a really challenging situation. So, I mean, can they score after the Ryan O'Reilly line? If they can reasonably contain the Ryan O'Reilly line, you've got the Shen line, but I think the Ryan O'Reilly line, if Green and them can contain them, it wouldn't surprise me this is extended. It wouldn't surprise me this is over. I picked obviously St. Louis to win the series. I think Vancouver is going to be really tough, and I'm looking at Quinn and Pettersson. Green has made some good adjustments. His line changes the other night. I thought it threw St. Louis off a little bit. It challenged the matchups a little bit. It'll be interesting. Besser was better. Miller was better. Pettersson was better. Pearson was good. Not throwing. I think Vancouver's right there.
Real Kyper at noon show believe that Alex Edler should be in the lineup tonight. Right. Got a lot of stitches in his ear, probably a lot of discomfort, but the sense is if he didn't have any setback last night or this morning, he should be in the lineup. I don't know if that affects your blitzbet.eu bet, Mac.
If he's not in the lineup, I'm going with St. Louis.
Oh, really?
Edler has got to play. Edler's got to play for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. They've already got Myers out. They cannot afford to lose Edler. Not a chance.
He should play tonight. He should play tonight. Vertanen's interesting, moving up there with Pettersson and Miller. And he turned himself into a key guy now.
He's a guy that's easy to bench, because he pisses you off. And they have put so much heat on this guy since this whole tournament has started. He has been under the gun. He bothers them because they see that he's got potential, but he just doesn't bring it consistently enough. Little bouts here and there. I mean, I know he scored 18 last year or something, but there's no consistency. But if you can get him going at the right time, he's an important guy against this big St. Louis team. So I think Greeny's used him really pretty effectively here.
It's funny when we go and look at Canada as a whole, that Vancouver's really turned themselves into the front runners in terms of being a team maybe that's closest to winning a Stanley Cup. And when you look at Toronto and their build over the last 3 years, Edmonton's build around Connor McDavid, mainstream media here in Canada has always kind of penciled in those two teams as being the front runner. Winnipeg and Calgary, close, but nobody ever thought Vancouver would be in a scenario to jump over all those organizations to say, this is Canada's best chance to win a Stanley Cup.
This would drive the Toronto Maple Leafs management team bonkers. When they look and see them, the Vancouver Canucks still playing and the Montreal Canadiens still playing and them sitting out and just whatever the hell is going on there, it would be driving them around the bend. And everybody analyzing how they need to be fixed when they thought they were special.
Well, we'll see if there's what the colossal damage of those losses to Washington and Calgary will be in terms of who stays, who goes. And I'm just not talking about players here, Mac. Jobs may be on the line as well for coaches and general managers alike here.
The way Trotz was handled in Washington, I mean, I like all this BS we're hearing now that, he wouldn't agree to the contract. They didn't. There was animosity or issues for half the season before Trotz left, and the contract was fake.
But
it was all BS.
Before Washington won the Stanley Cup, it was already written that Barry Trotz would not be back.
I know. I mean, Trotz told friends of mine that he was done. And this was early. This was in March. And now it's, Barry left. Yeah, right, Barry left.
Did you?
But I'll tell you what, Barry Trotz, the job he did coaching against the Florida Panthers, we talked about that. 4 rush chances in like 3 games of that series. I mean, the way he's coached in 2 series. You know what I love about this guy? I went through with the ice times this morning of his team. Look at the ice time. Yeah, Pelech and Pulock played almost 25 minutes. And then you go through their 4 lines. That 4th line with Ross Johnson dressed last night, his first playoff game, his first game since coming in and he plays almost 11 minutes. Trotz uses his bench. He uses it. His big guys don't play too much. His medium guys play the right amount, and his lesser guys play enough to give everybody a freshness. He's done a hell of a job coaching.
Did you catch the handshake between Barry Trotz and Todd Reardon? It was
cold,
a little frigid.
Yeah.
It's
like my handshakes with guys that have fired me out. As somebody said to me the other day, Doug, I don't hold grudges about teams I used to work for. But somebody said you can relax now and enjoy the playoffs.
No,
Florida and Columbus are out. I said, that's not me. I don't look at it that way.
You should say, I don't hold grudges against my former teams after 15 years. That's 15 years. Yeah, 15 or 20.
I'm edging up there. Anyway.
You're edging up there.
Yeah. So Trotz has done a hell of a job. I hope Todd Reardon, does he get fired over this? Well, somebody's going to take the blame. You said it before this series started that Todd's job was on the line. We'll see.
The pressure was no question there that he's got an owner that expects to win a Stanley Cup with Ovechkin still in his prime. Supposed to still have one of the best goalies, albeit his contract's up, and it doesn't appear that Holtby's going to be back. No. You still have a guy that is capable of winning a Stanley Cup. You've got Wilson, who's supposed to be one of the best power forwards in the game right now. One of the best modern-day passers.
Did he play last night? Did he play
they all played, Mac. They all played.
I didn't notice them.
They all played.
But look, it'll be interesting to see what they do here. But you know what? This team didn't look good. This team did not look good in this series. And the Islanders were hitting on all cylinders. Varlamov, is it because of the way they play defensively that Varlamov is a star again? I mean, Varlamov bombed in Washington. He wasn't in. They left Colorado. I mean, and he was a star in this series.
You know, the hard part now for managers or even owner is to take that fine line and say, is this really our team or is this our team in a bubble? And did that come into play? Because we all know, Mac, it is coming into play. Whether or not it's because of there's a level of inconsistency, and we've seen it with the Boston Bruins and St. Louis, and then you watch St. Louis and Boston, and you're like, oh, they're good. They're good, and we got our number 1 line back, and they're good. And then there's the Washington Capitals where you go, they're really good, but they're just disinterested right now.
But interesting, a guy said, is this a fair comment that a hockey guy said to me this morning? This is one of the greatest judges of a team character, the team's character, as to how they handle playing in this bubble. We heard Rick Bowness last night saying how really tough it is. Surprising that he would make that comment, by the way, when he comes out of a series. But is this
Okay,
a
hold
judge?
on.
Like, I'll tell you, Vancouver Canucks are not fazed by the bubble. They're not phased. They're young. They're excited. They're not phased by the bubble.
Why are you
They'll
surprised?
wait for an hour in line at the rooftop bar, and it doesn't faze them.
Why are you surprised at Rick Bowness's comments? You think because it's very pro player. It's very pro player. Is that why?
I just thought you don't, when you're coming off a big series win, don't give them any excuse for not to come up and play unbelievable against Colorado. I was just a little surprised.
You think his comments made Calgary look bad and weak mentally?
It sort of hit me a little bit that it made, some of the teams that have lost say, well, the veteran group on these teams have not taken to the bubble. We know it's hard. Well, everybody knows it's hard.
And
I just was
they're
surprised.
trying, they're trying really hard to get now families in for the second round. They're opening it up. I think Vegas went golfing the other day, and any decisions outside of the bubble has to go and get stamp of approval from the governments. It's still not that easy to get a lot of things. Now, I also heard.
Do you really believe the families are going to be allowed in? I mean, I'll be shocked if that happens this early.
Yeah, they put a plan in a long time ago, Mac, to get the families in.
But for the conference finals, wasn't it?
No,
I think the conference final and the final.
I don't know if they had a definitive date on bringing the families in, but they had agreed that at a certain point that there was going to be something set up for the families to come in and get quarantined for 4 days, daily tests before they get to share a room. But all of it still has to get a stamp of approval from the governments and the various sanctions. So that's not necessarily an easy thing to do.
And the players, I remember when I was involved with teams that they used to want to go to a separate hotel during the playoffs. So now, I mean, it's such a tough scenario for everybody involved in this. But I'm glad the guys get out to golf. That's good. How do you bubble golf?
Yes.
That's interesting.
The other thing I did hear too, Mac, is that, a lot of teams aren't interested in the players finding extracurricular activities like golf. They want them focused.
Exactly.
Would you have allowed your team to go golfing or I don't know, take a movie in somewhere? And again, you can do all of this as long as the government feels like it's quarantined and it's isolated and there's no public involved. They are looking for stuff for them to do. But I imagine you'd be the type of guy and say, hey guys, you're here to play hockey and win. Play hockey and go to your room, eat shit, and then come back to the rink. That's it. That I think that's the type of guy you would be.
That just shows how you don't know me. I would be the guy. And this is what, I mean, let's take Vegas. They've got a long wait here. They've had a long wait. To me, you've got to come up with something to do. No different if they were home. You're trying to come up with gimmicks to entertain them if you've got a week and a half off between series. So I don't have a problem with Vegas doing it. I think it's a good move for a team that's got a long wait. If you're ready to go, I wouldn't have anything to do with it if it was like a couple of days or 3 days. But when you've got a long time in between, I'm all for it.
All right, a couple of news and notes that's kind of floating around the National Hockey League. One that I find interesting, Mac, is linking the name Bruce Boudreau to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I know how much you love talking about the Leafs. And it just seems in the last 24, 36 hours, we are seeing a campaign to get Bruce Boudreau to the Toronto Maple Leafs that's even better than the campaign I'm seeing for Joe Biden.
Yes, for sure. Look, this is media buddies jumping on the bandwagon and pushing. And
well, no, but there is talk that the Leafs have asked for permission out of Minnesota.
And that's fine. I'm wondering. I had a call a month ago about would Gerard Gallant be interested in the assistant coaching job with the Toronto Maple Leafs? I didn't
So-
get it from the Leafs,
so
but I got it
clearly-
from somebody close
Okay.
to the Leafs that were sniffing around.
So if they're
And
so clearly they're looking for some experience to
looking for
help Sheldon Keefe.
yes, they're looking for a veteran guy. That was the gist of the call that I got, not from somebody in the organization, but somebody that was sniffing around for the
Who's
organization.
close to the organization.
Right. Would wonder if Gerard would be interested. When I mentioned it to Gerard, I couldn't repeat what he said on the air.
Interested or
no, he wasn't interested.
He's not interested.
He's looking for a head coaching job, is what he's
Yeah.
looking. But look, Bruce Boudreau, his dream would be to be the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Bruce is a Toronto guy. He's a Marley. He's a legend with the Marlies. He's a legend, around the Toronto area.
So it's a nice feel good story, but
it's a great feel good story. But if I'm Sheldon Keefe, I would be nervous about bringing a really experienced Gerard Gallant, Bruce Boudreau into the mix.
You've coached, okay? Tell the viewers and the listeners what's the number one thing a head coach thinks about when it comes to his assistant coaches. Tell them the truth.
Well, first of all, it's not whether he's right up to snap on analytics. It's not whether he's really good systematically. The number one thing is this guy, when things are not going well, going to be loyal to me?
Oh, Mac. Yes. Yes. The number one, I'll say it, Mac. The number
Loyalty.
one thing coaches worry about is an assistant coach that stabs you in the back. That's it.
Or not only stab you in the back, is capable of taking over.
Well, same difference.
Over. Right.
Same difference.
It's a nicer way of saying it.
Okay.
A guy who's capable of taking over.
And listen, and I'm not, for 1 second, don't read into this. I'm just generalizing the scenarios over our history involved in pro hockey here. This is not a reflection on Bruce Boudreau or his character, or do I think he's going to go in there and stab Sheldon in the back?
No,
this is where Sheldon's sitting there going, I just got lambasted, right, in the first round by John Tortorella. Everybody, it was so bad that John had to come and save me in the media. That's how bad it was. So why would I have a guy like Bruce Boudreau, who's got this bigger than life personality so when the moment he comes, everybody's going to say, when this guy falters, they're going to put this guy in. Why would Sheldon Keefe welcome that?
He wouldn't welcome it unless he's different than 99.9% of people I've met over my career that are head coaches. You've got to be comfortable when you're in this position. Whether people believe it or not, this head coaching position of the Toronto Maple Leafs is under fire right now. Sheldon is under the gun at the start of this season. The last thing you want is somebody that can take over tomorrow. And I agree with you 100%. This is not talking about Bruce Boudreau's character, because Bruce Boudreau is as good a guy as he can't find his old house he grew up in with Elliott, but he's a hell of a guy.
It is a scenario that we've seen over and over and over again. Okay. Right. And it's to the point, Mac, that go back and watch, and listen to coaches and the way they treat their assistant coaches. Some of them aren't even allowed to talk to the media. Can't even talk. I don't want you out there. I don't want people getting to know you. I don't want people to know your personality. I don't want people to start thinking that you could do this job better than me. That's how bad it's been over the years, watching relationships between coaches and assistant coaches. People should do their homework and find out which great coaches there were out there and how many assistant coaches came off of them to get jobs. There's not as many as you would think, I assure you.
A smart guy once told me early in my coaching career, Stick your hand in a bucket of water, and the hole that's left when you take it out is how indispensable you are.
Good
So
advice.
don't make it easy.
That comes with, hey, that and broadcasters. No.
Exactly. So you know what? I think they need a veteran type of guy to come in? Do I think they need a player type of guy to come in with the Leafs? I think they really do. I think the hiring of the assistant coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs is a really important hire for Sheldon and for the organization. I really believe that. Paul McFarland, I don't know him. I don't think he would have survived this. I don't think he would have survived. I don't know if they told him he was done or if he was going on to junior. I don't know, but I don't buy it. I think they need a lot more experience. And I know Haxtell's been there, but Dave's not a real players guy. They need a players type of guy on that bench with them and in that dressing room and on the ice in practice. So we'll see what they do. It's an important hire.
I'm living in Toronto. I got nothing to do. I can do this show from 12 to 1, and then I can go down there and help them.
And you want
to start campaigning for me? You want to start campaigning?
Well, you'll have to phone Elliot, see if you get it in 31 thoughts. Because every sentence has somebody getting a job somewhere.
Oh, listen. I think on occasion you've done a few name-dropping favors yourself.
Yes, I have.
Busted. What about, what are we hearing, Mac? Are we getting any closer to Arizona? Dale Talon's been officially gone. I'm hearing some names there. Why don't we start with what you're hearing?
I hear Peter Chiarelli is the leading guy in Arizona, obviously of Edmonton and Boston fame. He's tight with Gary Bettman. That would certainly help the situation. And I think Scott Mellanby is the leading candidate in Florida. I know Mike Fuda's going in as well, but I think to me, if I was a betting man, I would go Mellanby and Peter Chiarelli.
Yeah.
Now, are you riding my coattails, or do you know anything about these jobs?
I know Fuda's in this week with Florida, and he's been close on a couple of occasions. I think a finalist for New Jersey. Maybe they might want a little bit more experience than Scott Mellanby, and there's the link with the franchise, finals, the Rats, right? Yep. Your era. You think Scott's ready, or would they need a little bit more experience like Fuda?
No, I think Scott would be a good choice by the Panthers. I really do. He's a solid guy. He's got, as you said, he's got a history there. They need a shot in the arm there so bad. They need some positiveness to go around the organization. I think Mel brings that. I think he's a solid guy. He's paid his dues. Good player that's paid his dues and is in a secondary role with management teams. I'd like to think Scott's ready, and I like Mike Fuda too. I know he's played a good well.
What else do we got? Jordan, you want any comments out there? This is Friday. Maybe we'll just open it up a little bit.
Totally. I think a lot of people are dying to know about Mike Milbury. What's going on with him? Any thoughts over there?
He's not up for either one of those jobs. Is that what you're asking?
Is that what you're asking,
no,
or his comments?
On his comments. Obviously, he's not up for the job.
Share the comments with the viewers and listeners so we can know definitively. I assume I know what you're talking to him, but I did hear it from secondhand. So
yeah, I'm pulling up the comments right now. This is what our friends over at thesportingnews.com say. Mike Milbury criticized after saying women could disrupt NHL players in bubble. Hockey analyst Mike Milbury is once again facing criticism for comments he made on air during NHL on NBC. Milbury faced negative feedback for his take.
He's saying the distraction of the females isn't in the bubble anymore, so the players can focus, Mac.
Do I really have to touch this?
Hey,
as a guy that spends a lot of time with his wife, I'm certainly not saying that. as a guy that's going to spend a month in an RV with his wife soon, I'm not touching that. I think Mike, did he really say that?
Hey, yes.
That's what our friends at the Sporting News had to say.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Clearly, Mike wants to go down a path that Doug and I would never go down.
No.
Okay.
No.
And Mac has to clean the garage in 15 minutes, or else he's in big trouble. That's where Mac's focused on.
It's very tough in this job to be careful what you say all the time, and some of us get caught. As you remember me getting caught with the Edmonton Oilers talking about their blue line on Hockey Central at noon.
My intern, Michael Bannock Jr. says, "Thank you, Jeremiah Maxwell. A big fan of the show." How about that?
Who's
Thank
he?
you. Oh my gosh, he's a loyal watcher, listener. And if you are listening on the podcast, how about a rating and review? We love those because you can tell us exactly how Mac puts his foot in his mouth constantly. And if you like it, let us know by hitting the like button.
Put your foot in your, anyway, hit the button. Bang
Jordan,
the button.
You got another one that doesn't. I kind of like the ones that make Max squirm.
Okay,
Like,
so I'll search. Here's an interesting question.
My pits are wet on that one.
So I think that the concept of coaches' salaries not counting against the cap kind of gets confused with should they waste money on hiring a new coach so quickly after getting a new coach, right? So how would you think about that?
You wanna ask a coaches union guy right now that question? Listen. I've always said this along. Why do the coaches get excluded from overall money that you have to run your organization? They're going to hate me for this, but that should factor in, should it not? Because
the money some organizations pay, like the difference in the last 5 to 10 years on management costs. Running your hockey ops department has gone over the top. Some teams are really cheap with it, and some teams it's like it doesn't matter.
So
it's
Washington,
unbelievable to me how it's over the top.
And really, Washington is a kind of an example of that, where they were not willing to go, especially with Barry Trotz. You win the Stanley Cup, and then you already had Babcock set the bar with his $6+ million with the Leafs, and then he started pulling up others right behind him. Todd McClellan benefited so much, and others benefited. And
Has
then
Todd made the playoffs in the last 5 years? And I mean, what's
and
he
then
made?
Barry Trotz wins the Stanley Cup for Washington, which automatically put him anywhere between $3.5-4 million and $6 million.
But Lou Lamoriello has always been a guy that has paid his coaches extremely well. This is going back to Jacques Lemaire, Larry Robinson, the new Pat Burns, the New Jersey Devils, Claude Julien. He paid his guys well.
That's right.
And he always has, because he gets it. He understands how critical a position. Pittsburgh Penguins hired Johnson, Mike Johnson, 3 or 4 years ago when the job was up, and they paid him $800,000. This is the same time Babcock was getting whatever he was getting, $5 million. I mean, so it's all over the map.
So top coaches now, and I think Tortorella, who's got 1 year left on his contract in Columbus,
he's going to speak to the media today.
Oh, that should be fun. That should be fun.
He will speak.
Tortorella right now, no questions asked, could go to Columbus right now and say, I want my contract extension, and it starts at 5 times 5. Easy all day long. That's an easy ask. I don't know if he's going to ask for it. I don't know if he's had it up to here with the young kids, the league, yada, yada, yada. He looks tired. Some days you think that he's checked out. Listen to his press conference. He's checked out, but he could ask 5 times 5. I don't think Columbus is going to go there. You might find, Mac, other organizations desperate enough to say, I'll take Tortorella at 5 times 5. It's not against my cap. It's only money. Yeah, I'll do it.
It's only money, and some teams would do it in a heartbeat. And I mean, the other thing with Torts is you wonder, does he really want to keep doing this? There's some question that he that's why the press conference is big news today in Columbus.
He could shut it down.
What is he shut it down? I can't believe he would. I cannot believe he would. He's come off 2 of his better playoff coaching jobs. I know they didn't extend, but he's come off 2 real good jobs. I'd be shocked if he doesn't stay.
The other thing too, Mac, is, and again, it's all about the salary cap, and it's all about where your ownership group want to go. And
what are your chances of winning? What are your chances of winning?
Pierre-Luc Dubois now is a restricted free agent, if I'm not mistaken. And there are people out there, much like Sebastian Aho in Carolina, that he could get an offer sheet.
He very well could get an offer sheet, and you know exactly where it could be. It could be the people that put the offer sheet in on Aho, and that would be the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the other question that's out there is Jones going to re-sign? I know he's got a couple of years left, but is Jones? He's an unrestricted free agent in 2 years.
I will be shocked if Jones is a Columbus Blue Jacket 3 years from now. I will be shocked.
And for Kekalainen, who's done in my opinion, Kekalainen's done a very good job. And that would be devastating. I mean, what they've gone through with people they've lost, top players they've lost would be. So I don't even want to think about Jones not staying in Columbus. I don't want to think.
For Tortorella, isn't that really like the first conversation before you even decide what you do? Is what's my team going to look like in 2 or 3 years?
Big time.
What am I staying for?
And
who's going to be here?
People like playing in Columbus. Columbus is a good city, but everybody has, when you become unrestricted at 27 years of age and it's sitting there in front of you, there's so many options. It happens to every team. It happens to lots of teams. One thing I would like to say before we sign off today, I don't want to change the subject, but what the hell did Arizona do in the playoffs? That was a joke when I watched them play.
Mac.
That was embarrassing.
We let some of the worst teams during the regular season into this tournament. Okay, what were you expecting?
I was expecting them to try the last 2 games.
Montreal, Arizona, and Chicago did not deserve to be in this tournament.
It was embarrassing. I mean, Rick Tocchet, does he take heat for this? But seriously, that was embarrassing. What happens to Taylor
There's
Hall?
A few organizations feeling embarrassed after this run.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been embarrassed too sometimes, so I guess I should keep my mouth shut.
We're just lucky that you signed a long-term deal here with the Real Kyper at Noon show.
Did I?
Yes. At your age, a 1-year deal.
It's a long term.
Is like a lifetime. Right?
It is.
Doug Maclean, Summerside PEI. Thanks for joining us, Mac. Have a great weekend. Any big plans at all? Because there's no game Saturday. What are you going to do Saturday?
I'm going to run errands for Jill because Jill just came back from Ontario this afternoon from seeing her sick mother.
Yeah.
And Jill is going into quarantine for 14 days on PEI. So I will be the errand boy.
You want to give Milbury a call, see if you can do anything for him as well?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm staying out of that
one. We love to watch you squirm here on the Real Kyper at Noon show. Have a great weekend. We'll see what lies. Give us one last thought. Okay.
Hit the button.
No, forget the like button for a second. Although hit it if you want. Who extends? Who's going home as early as tonight?
I didn't pick the Canucks, but I'm picking the Canucks to win tonight. I'm picking Philly to win tonight. Who else is there?
That's it.
That's it.
Hey, great work today.
You know what? They're both teams. I picked Philly to win the series. I picked St. Louis to win the series. I've been really good, by the way, in my picks. I'm running almost 100% right now in my picks this round.
Don't hurt yourself patting yourself on the back. You get in that awkward situation, you could hurt your rotator cuff.
Exactly. Take
Doug
care.
Maclean, everybody. Thank you, Mac. Have a great weekend. For all of you who have been loyal, including Jeremiah Maxwell, thanks as always. Tell your friends, subscribe. We're here on a daily basis, bringing you all your NHL news on and off the ice. Enjoy your nice early starts tonight, and we'll see what happens between Montreal and Philly, St. Louis and Vancouver. And we will see you Monday. And don't forget about ratings and review on the Apple podcast. We want to hear from you.